Builders could be banned from selling new houses as leasehold properties under proposals put forward by the government. It's really important to try and understand this, and Ben can explain it to us. Good morning.
Morning to you both. Yeah, thanks very much. This is all about the way that builders have been selling new houses recently, and a suggestion that some buyers may have actually missed some of the small print. Now, when you buy a property, you either buy leasehold or freehold. Now, leasehold means that you don't actually own the land that your house is built on, but you rent it instead. You also have to pay extra charges like ground rent and service. That's normal if you buy a flat, but it's become increasingly common for new build houses as well. Well, in 2010, just 3,400 new build leasehold houses were registered, but just 6 years later, by 2016, that had more than trebled to 10,300. All of that means thousands of pounds in extra charges for homeowners. So why? Well, let's speak to Sebastian O'Kelly, who's from the Leasehold Knowledge Partnership. They've been campaigning on this issue. Sebastian, good morning to you. Let's first of all run through some of those charges that buyers could be stung for, because they are quite significant, aren't they?
They're very significant, and in fact they devalue the property, and about 100,000 people around the country are living in homes that they can't sell.
Why have these charges been brought in? And I touched on the fact that they are common if you buy a flat, but they're not common, or they certainly weren't common, for houses.
They've been brought in for pure profit for the developers and their friends, the investors who buy freeholds. People are buying homes. They think they're buying a home that they can live in and raise a family. In buying a leasehold house, they're creating an investment asset class that can, at their own expense, that can be sold off to murky and anonymous investors, often based offshore.
Let's talk about a few examples of where people might be hit for fees. As we touched on there, you have to pay ground rent, so you're paying an annual charge effectively on that lease. But also it could have implications if you want to make home improvements. Talk me through that.
No, it can. This can be a very lucrative form of the leasehold game. You have to get consent if you're going to let out your property to a tenant. You have to get consent if you're going to move one of the internal walls, or build a conservatory, or put down a patio, or even lay carpets in some leases. Altogether, these consents, which come at a cost, add up to a significant revenue stream.
And that revenue stream not necessarily going to the people who've built the houses, but some of these leases are then packaged up, sold to big financial institutions, and they are the ones that will make the money.
That's true, and it's not particularly respectable or reputable financial institutions at that. Very few of the ground rent owners actually want to admit that they own it. They hide behind nominee directors, and many of these are owned offshore. This is a racket, and it needs to stop.
You might say that homeowners should read the small print. The builders make it very clear what people are buying. Is it not down to the buyers to say, look, I've bought this, clearly it has a lease on it rather than freehold, and therefore I'm liable for these costs?
Yeah, but I think you really need to have some sympathy for the home buyers in these cases. The selling of new build property is incredibly slick. There's a marketing suite and ingratiating sales staff. The bureaucracy is very complicated. You get incentives if you use the developers' solicitors, if you use the developers' mortgage advisors, if you use the developers' valuer. None of these professionals have warned these people that there were clauses in the leases which could devalue the value of these properties. Add into that the Help to Buy scheme, which is another layer of bureaucracy. This is where taxpayers pay 20% of the mortgage to help first-time buyers get onto the property ladder, and it's extremely difficult to break out of the loop once you're in the developer's sales suite.
Sebastian, thank you for that. Sebastian O'Kelly there from the Leasehold Knowledge Partnership explaining some of that. And we should say the government's now launching an 8-week consultation over those plans. It's calling it an unfair leasehold practice. That applies to England only, but nonetheless an 8-week consultation. More on that for you. I know you guys are going to talk about it a little later as well.
Yes, we've got Sajid Javed just after 8 o'clock here on Breakfast. Thank you.